We are gathered here with the final Q&A, and we seems to have some reports.
Avasrai Bhante, we have received 3 reports today. Report number 1. Most Venerable Thero, sitting meditation. Purpose for breathing practice and stay in the present. Challenges: 1. Posture issue. My legs are paining in 15 minutes and asking me to change positions. 2. Mind is diverting and thinking various events and things. 3. My mind also working on reversing theory when it comes to closing my eyes and asking me to open the eyes for 10 seconds to check the time and make sure I don't disturb anyone when I change my leg position. My question here is, 1. Why do we need to keep our eyes closed in sitting meditation, and would it be fine to open the eyes in between? Walking meditation. Purpose: to stay current and feel body reactions. Challenges: found to be relatively easy in comparison to sitting meditation, and I can feel body movements from top to bottom. I do see my mind is diverting in response to external noises, but I was able to quickly bring it back and concentrate on my practice. My final question here would be whether I should more concentrate on sitting, within brackets difficult one, or walking, the easy one, or finding a right balance between these two practices. Thank you.
Yes, so most of these things, they are natural to a beginner. These problems appear. But what you have to do is simply continue your practice, and when you continue, you develop that ability. You develop the capacity to do a sitting and walking session without much trouble. Right? It will come with time. Initially, these things, most of the beginners, they face it. Let's say seated posture. Difficult to maintain it, difficult to stay in a single posture. They are natural to a beginner. We are not used to sit like this, no? That's the thing. We usually don't sit on the ground. We have our comfortable chairs, right? So when you come and sit on the ground with a mat or a cushion, it's not easy. So the posture becomes difficult, right? But with time, you can assist your posture with certain exercises, flexibility exercises. With time, you develop the ability to stay in the seated posture without much complaint. Maybe like even 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that type of a length, you can sit without much trouble. And it's okay to change the posture, but do that change mindfully. That would be the best advice for a beginner. If you are changing the posture, mindfully change it. Then again you can settle down, close your eyes and stay for like another 15 minutes. Right? That way we try to continue our practice and make sure that you bring your attention to the primary object. In your report, I didn't hear the primary object. Simply being won't do. When you concentrate on a primary object, let's say breathing, when you concentrate on that, that very concentration helps with your posture and staying for a longer period in the seated position, right? Due to the concentration, the posture becomes easier, and all the thoughts, various memories, agitation, they are a little bit suppressed due to the concentration, right? So the practice helps you to stay for a longer time. That's why bringing your attention to the primary object is important. Knowing your primary object is important, right? By paying attention there, naturally the posture becomes easier. that we can feel. Even others, I'm sure they feel when you sit, the posture is a bit difficult, but when you continue your practice, after 10-15 minutes, the posture becomes much more comfortable and it settles down. That's the power of the concentration that comes through the practice. And even the agitation, the thoughts, they are a little bit suppressed, you can feel it. That's the power of the concentration. Due to that, these things are suppressed and you can maintain your attention with the breathing and you feel a certain level of peace within. Right? So you can see these different faculties are coming and helping, supporting your practice. So what you have to do is continue and figure them out. Both in the walking, sitting, make sure to know your correct primary object. Right? That would be important. Paying attention to that primary object, bringing repetitively would be important. That's one thing. Then the walking and sitting, you can do 50-50. Give equal weight to both the practices. Not only that, even your daily life, try to exercise mindfulness. When you leave after the retreat, you can't forget the practice. You can't forget mindfulness. That's not the way. Instead, even when you leave, remember mindfulness. You go do various things, simply maintain a certain level of body awareness. When you have your meals at home, notice whether you feel the process. Right? That way, not only walking, sitting, but even in daily activities, we try to keep our attention, we try to remember the practice. That's how we can progress. I think I answered all the questions that was there. If I miss anything, you can ask.
Please raise your hand if you need to discuss anything.
You were asking about why the eyes should be closed. No,
Yes, the eyes, that's not a problem. Is sometimes you can keep your eyes open. So that's also available. But in the sitting, we exercise a different balance. Right? It's a different balance than the walking. It's a different balance than the daily activities. Keeping your eyes closed, it allows you to go into a deeper level. That's why it is. But it's not a must. Right? Some people, they can't keep their eyes closed. So they ask whether they can keep the eyes open in the sitting session. That's fine. Even that monk, I can't remember his name, Bodhidhamma. Yeah, he was staring at a wall for 9 years. That was his practice. Right? So basically staring at a wall, Bodhidhamma became wise Bodhidhamma. Wisdom appears through that process. Right? It's a metaphor. Staring at a wall. It's a metaphor that they give. But anyway, you repetitively observe your breathing. That's like staring at a wall. Same old breath. Very boring. But you keep observing it. Through that only you can develop the wisdom. That's the whole practice. So, keeping your eyes open for a beginner would be fine, but you have to develop that ability, develop that capacity to close your eyes and stay in meditation. Because that's a different balance that we are aiming at. When we are not comfortable in our mind, when we are in a bad neighborhood, we can't keep our eyes closed. That's the basic reason. So when you become comfortable in your mind more and more, you can simply keep your eyes closed. Like the children, they don't like the darkness. They are scared in their minds, so they prefer light. But when you develop your practice, little by little, gradually, you can develop that capacity and you should be able to keep your eyes closed.
Report number 2. Venerable Bhante. Seated meditation. Object, in and out breath. Experience. Body calms down and attention is drawn to the in and out breath. Breath becomes subtle. Thoughts flow freely in the periphery. Observe that there is a profound silence, a deep calm when mind locks into the present moment. These moments are brief as the mind becomes noisy again with thoughts appearing. Walking meditation. Object, sensations of the soles of the foot. Experience, walking happens automatically. Thoughts sometimes become stories. A fly kept landing on my face. Observed my reactions to this situation. Was pleased that I was able to gently wave my arm versus swat it like I would have done before. Mind was also calm. Daily activities. Trying to be mindful when engaging with household activities and discussions. Mind keeps reminding to stay mute or say less, managing to keep the words at bay. However, I notice my mind gets disturbed. Thero Saranai.
Mind get disturbed. Okay, right. So in the practice you can feel sometimes the mind calms down, sometimes it goes crazy, like agitation comes, right? So these two are more like extremes. Sometimes the mind is full, sometimes the mind is empty. When you experience that emptiness, you can feel the silence, you can feel kind of a vast space. That type of experience come, emptiness. But you have to understand both these extremes, they are natural to your mind. Sometimes it becomes full, sometimes it becomes empty. You have to accept both emptiness and fullness. When you don't know meditation, what happens is you only know the fullness. Full of thoughts, full of activities, full of words, right? Fullness only we experience. But the meditators, they start to experience the other extreme as well. Empty of thoughts, empty of actions, empty of words. That's the other extreme, right? And meditators time after time goes to these two extremes. Earlier we have only known the fullness extreme. Now we get to experience the emptiness. And when you experience emptiness, naturally you prefer that one. You prefer staying empty. You prefer that extreme. But that is wrong when we think about the practice. Practice is always shifting between these two extremes. We have to accept it. And when you accept it, whether the mind is full, whether the mind is empty, it doesn't bother you. That's the real change that will happen. When it is empty, you can of course enjoy that part. When it is full, you accept that part as well. That's how the life works. Right? Even at home, sometimes you feel you are peaceful, you are not getting too attached to the things that way. Sometimes you go to the other extreme. Right? You practice being mute in a conversation, but sometimes without you even knowing, you lose yourself and start speaking non-stop. Right? So both the extremes are natural to us. Both the extremes are important to us. So we simply accept it. That's what we have to do. And time to time you stay mute. You keep your distance. Sometimes you lose it. What can you do? Right? Both the extremes we try to allow. Most of the meditators, they try to go into that other extreme only. The emptiness is extreme. They try to stay like a mute. They try not to interfere with anything. But that you can't sustain it. Time after time you have to come to the other extreme as well. This proper balance you have to figure out. Right? So I'm sure various situations might appear, and those situations would demand you to develop this balance. You can't only accept one extreme. That's not possible. Various situations, they come and they demand. When that demand is there, naturally you have to figure out the proper balance that you can develop with time. Understand whether the mind is empty, whether the mind is full. We should be peaceful in our mind in spite of that. That's the real practice. But it takes time for you to understand it. It takes time for you to develop that capacity. Right? But continue this, and with time you can feel it. You can feel that your mind is full. You are talking, you are doing, you are thinking, all these things are there. But among them, you are able to maintain a certain level of peace. You interfere with your family matters, but still you can maintain a certain level of distance. Right? Those abilities will come. Till that, it's always a journey. I'm sure various situations would demand you to develop these abilities. For example, those flies, right? One of a kind attraction with the flies. So many, 20 or 30 people are there, still the same fly is chasing after me, right? That's how it is. That's how it is. So when it comes, you can't deny that, no? You somehow manage the situation. You stay without moving, but in your mind probably you are cursing the fly. Yes. Even yesterday, I think, no, the Friday, I guess, during the sitting, I think like 3-4 flies, they resided around this area. The whole sitting was flies. Right? What can you do? What can you do? So that those different situations come, and we get to experience that we have to face it. We have to face it. That will develop our capacity. That will develop our ability. So don't try to stay only in one extreme. That's not the way. Instead, you have to accept both the extremes, both the ends, and that will develop the capacity that we are talking about. Whether you are full or whether you are empty, your mind is not shaken. That ability will come. Continue and see.
Just to ask on that, that's not mine, but she says, like, even I do that kind of things because I stay mute, but as she says, the inner chatter goes on. So are you saying that once we develop, there will be a stage that the inner chatter also will be stopped?
Yes, that's the thing. Now, you can stay mute in your body, but inside, you are cursing, you are blaming, all those things are there. Simply outside only you are mute, right? So, aren't you involved in that situation? That's the question that we have to ask, right? Are we distant from that situation, right? It feels like we act like we are distant, but in your mind you are involved. That's the thing, right? So, not getting involved or keeping a distance in your mind, that is an ability that will grow with the practice only.
Okay.
Yes. So let's say currently you involve into a certain level. Maybe after a couple of years of practice you realize, still I am involved, but not into a level that I used to do. Right? My mind is, the noise is there, but you don't take that noise personally in the mind, right? That way a change has happened. And let's say a few more years of practice, you can feel a certain friction in a situation, but among the situation you are more or less peaceful. Yes, still some debris are there, some kind of a friction is there, but that friction is very less. So you can see probably the inner chatter is there, but it is fading into the background. That type of a change I would appreciate. Otherwise, saying that there won't be inner chatter, I don't know. Instead, inner chatter fades into the background. Still, if you pay attention, you can see some kind of a noise is there. But that noise is far away. Earlier, it was right next to your ear, so involved. But now, it fades into the background. That's the change that will happen. That maybe after many years of practice, you can realize. Still, some friction, some chatter is there. But it is probably not, it doesn't feel like it's mine. Somebody else's background noise, right? That type of a change will happen. Like commentary. Commentary is there, but it's not yours. Some commentary goes in the background. Yes. That type of change would be more practical, I guess. Saying absolutely no inner chatter, that won't be the real practice. You can feel it's fading into the background.
Thank you, Bhante. Report number 3. Dear Bhante, we always practice mindfulness. We know it is required and a blessing for our lives. Having said that, just to clarify, is this the only way forward? If not, what should be the steps next to this in order to reach a certain destination through meditation? Kindly explain. Theruvan Saranai.
Now, when we practice mindfulness, it is not only mindfulness that we are developing, right? Other faculties are there. Other faculties are developing along with the mindfulness practice. But we don't name them. Even in your reports, you can see the other faculties. Concentration comes, virya is there, right? All those things are there. But we talk with mindfulness, that's our theme. But the rest of the faculties are supporting you in the process. You are developing them as well. For example, let's say someone practices with virya, right? In effort, in the sitting practice, initially you can't sit for like more than 10 minutes. That's how you start. But when you continue for few months, then you realize now I can sit for 1 hour. With difficulty, I can sit for 1 hour. Now, do you see an improvement in your effort as well? Otherwise, you simply get up with a little bit of friction. Right? But we don't talk about effort, no. We talk under the topic of mindfulness. We are not simply focusing on effort. But the effort has developed. Right? So that's how the practice works. Most of us, we try to find labels. We need that assurance. We need labeling. Even, let's say, attaining Nibbana one day, you might look for a label. You might look for a signpost saying, welcome to stream entry. Right? That type of a thing you would expect. That's how we are attached to these words. We are attached to the labels. We always look for the words. But that's a corruption in our mind. Right? Without those names, the practice works. But we always try to relate the practice with all these names, book knowledge. Right? So it's important for a practitioner, instead of thinking about those Dhamma-related aspects, instead of labeling things with them, simply continue the practice. Without knowing all these words, still the practice works. For example, early Buddhism, the teachings, probably like one teaching for a specific person. That's the only teaching that person has received, but still the work is done. Right? And I read this very nice story about a monk who is in a forest. Right? He is in a forest. He is a meditating monk. Then this other person goes and meet him. This other person, he carries a lot of book knowledge with the Zen practices, and he knows the book. He knows the Zen teaching. and he goes to this forest monk and start talking. In the discussion, he figure out this monk is talking the same Dhamma that's in those books, like Heart Sutra, Diamond Sutra, those type of profound teachings. But this monk is using a different set of words only. His own words he is using, but the practice is the same. Right? So that way we develop. We only preach mindfulness, we only preach about that. But in the process, you develop the other faculties as well. So what you have to do is simply, as walking, sitting and daily practice, improve this, continue with this. And when you do that, today you talk about a certain level of mindfulness. After 1 month, your practice has evolved and you are in a different level. I think like 8 different occasions, 8 or 9, I can't remember exactly, Buddha used the word mindfulness. Right? But 8 different aspects of the same practice. It starts with more like bare attention. Then it goes to mindfulness of the body, mindfulness of feelings. That way it develops. Right? So always we talk about mindfulness, but we have to understand those different levels have different qualities. So we can't really define it. If we give a definition for the initial level of mindfulness, probably next week it won't be through. Right? So that way the practice evolves. You simply have to accept it and continue with the practice. And when we reach a certain level like mindfulness power, the definition that's given is totally opposite. When you are unmindful, the mind is not shaken. That's the quality of the power level. Right? So you can see we start with mindfulness and it goes to unmindfulness when it reaches the power level. So that's how the practice evolves. So this is continuously evolving. Right? So you have to support your practice, do your daily sitting, walking, meditation, approach your day mindfully. Like that, you have to continue for a few weeks. And when you continue, the necessary faculties will be developed and you mature in your path. That's the whole idea. Done. Yes.
Time for verbal questions. Anyone has, please raise your hands.
Bhante, in the context of mindfulness, I was thinking of, can one develop the ability to be mindful of one's tone when you're speaking? What I'm trying to say is, sometimes I find myself, I can delude myself into thinking I'm being very kind to this person, but my tone betrays that I'm being sarcastic. But sometimes I'm mindfully, I tell myself, okay, or I say something that I know my tone betrays that I'm boasting. So I think, I'm sorry, I'm not very coherent. Can you develop this ear sensitivity to your tone?
Sometimes you are kind, sometimes you are sarcastically kind.
Yes,
That's
I can.
yes.
Yeah, but I can fool myself if I'm not sensitive.
Yes, now, yes, when it comes to the practice, most people they try to put it outwards. Mindfully listening to someone, mindfully answering. Lot of restrictions, right? When you deal with the outside world. But I would like to put it like, you figure out your inner balance. You figure out your inner peace.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your cup is full. As a result, it will overflow to the surrounding. Otherwise, if you focus on the surrounding first, I don't think it's good. You try to focus on the surrounding. You try to be good to the other people. In the process, maybe sometimes you are not good to yourself, you are not kind to yourself, right? So our focus would be to take care of the cup. Make sure that your cup is full. When your cup is full, naturally it overflows to the surrounding, right? So make sure that you retain your peace. Whether it's kind or not to outside, that doesn't matter, right? You prioritize your peace, you work based on that. And when true peace emerges within you, naturally the surrounding is also touched with that. Get the point? Yeah. Right? If you focus on the other people, if you focus on behaving kindly, if you focus on answering kindly, if you focus on listening to other people kindly, I don't think that's the correct approach. You focus on yourself, you focus on your peace, right? And work on that. As a result, you behave in a natural manner. Whatever that comes naturally to you, you behave. You behave true to yourself. Initially, it might come as a friction to the other people. It might come as a friction to the surrounding. But in time, they also figure out, okay, this person behaves this way. It's not personal. It's not personal. He or she is more focused on their own inner peace. And if they protect it, then naturally the surrounding will be peaceful. Right? Most of us, especially mothers, they have the problem of, trying to be kind to the other person. Trying to be compassionate to the outside world. In the process, they sacrifice their own peace, their own compassion. The self-compassion is not there, but you try to be compassionate to the surrounding. That's not going to work, right? So if you don't have the compassion towards yourself, if you don't have love towards yourself, how can you spread compassion towards the outside world? It's fake. It's not real thing, right? So prioritize yourself. It sounds like selfish, right? It sounds selfish, but when your cup is full, that's the best thing you can do to the outside world as well, right? That's why meditators, people don't like them. They say you are focused on your peace. You don't care about us. You don't do our work. You are sitting, closing your eyes, and simply staying like a statue, right? That's how they look it. That's how they see it. But when you are focused on yourself, when you have real peace within you, naturally it goes to the surrounding as well, right? That should be the way to prioritize. Otherwise, if you prioritize the outside world, if you try to prioritize behaving according to the wishes of other people, then I don't think it's gonna work. It's a never-ending process it's going to be. What you can do is make sure you are focused on yourself, make sure that you live true to yourself, and as a result, naturally, it will go to the outside. There'll be an end to it if you approach it that way. If you approach it the opposite way, if you approach outside first, I don't think there'll be an end to it. Even Buddha is not so kind sometimes. Right? You have to read the entire thing. Most people, they only read about the kind part. Sometimes Buddha is really strict. Sometimes blaming people. Sometimes chasing them away. Right? That happens. Right? So we only have that wrong idea. Buddha so kind, so peaceful. Right? That's how we see. But you have to act certain occasions. Right? You have to do things that are not popular. What can you do? That's how life is. That's how you have to make sure that the peace is protected. It might come as rude to other people. It might appear rude to other people. But in time, they also figure out this is not personal. Try and see. Today a different person will reach home.
Avasaraya Bhante, could you tell at what point of time do we use this? I asked this same question from you in Meethiragala, this Vitakka Santana Sutra. I remember you saying it's an initial stage of managing your thoughts, right? Like for beginners or whatever. So, but sometimes when you go on observing thoughts, we are on such a long story, and it's exhausting. So sometimes I do use willpower to make sure that I stop at certain point. Otherwise, it's a never-ending thoughts. So is that okay? Or?
Yeah, of course. They are valid. 5 methods are there, no? Yes. So those methods can be used. Even in mindfulness practice, sometimes we use it. For example, let's say thoughts come, but we don't prioritize it. We bring our attention to the primary object, replacing that very object with the primary object, right? So that way those tools are valid. You can use them, and depending on the situation, you can manage. Sometimes, forcefully removing, right? Those things are also can be done. The problem is that these thoughts, they have so much power. That's the real problem. Still, so much energy, so much power is there with the thoughts. That's the real problem. That's why we can't simply watch them come and go. Right? That is too difficult, too crowded. So till you reach that level, you have to somehow manage the situation.
It's like we can watch them come, but they don't go. So that's the issue.
No, there will be an end. Be assured of that. The problem is that can you wait long enough? Can you be patient enough? That's the problem, no? You are saying it's never ending, but I am saying there's an end. In order to see the end, you have to wait maybe like few days. Right? What can you do? Few days you might have to wait. Even few weeks you might have to wait. But there will be an end. That's assured. Right? These thought processes, they say chain thoughts, train thoughts. The thought processes are so powerful, so strong, we don't get to see the end yet. That's the problem. But I'm sure have the idea in your mind, one day I'll have to face this. One day I'll have to accept this. With that idea in mind, you use whatever the tools that is necessary. And, sometimes some people do sublimation, like exercising. If you do a proper workout, like 1.5 hours of proper workout, sweating for like anything, then I'm sure with that support, you can feel that the energy of the mind is reduced. Right? It's the same energy. If we are not active in our body, naturally the energy goes towards the mind. Right? So most of the long-term yogis, monks, nuns, the main problem they come across, they are not exercising their bodies enough. Right? Due to that, they face with mental difficulties, mental stress. Right? Some people, they are suffering with depression. Some mental distress they are suffering with. Right? Ask them to come join some task. No, I'm a meditator. I don't do those things. Right? That's how they do. Right? They don't like to exercise their body. They don't like to sweat. They prefer simply sitting, be like a statue, and they expect their minds to be calm. Not gonna work, right? Due to some cause, I got the chance of doing duties at Nissarana. Right? He knows. Initially, I was a part of the team that was working, and there was some other monk. I was a layman, and that same curse came to me next. Now, for many years, I have been directing the yogis for the duties, and along with them, I work. So it's an added benefit for me, right? And when you work, initially people don't like it. They try to run away when they see me, right? That's how they approach it. But later, they themselves come and say, Bhante, when we work, the sitting session in the afternoon is a totally different level. But when we are lazy, it's a different level. And some of them coming and asking for work. Right? They come and ask, they say, when I have some work, my meditation works very nice. Right? So that way you can see, when you exercise your body, it helps a lot. It helps with dealing with thoughts. It helps to reduce the power in these thought processes. It's not a permanent solution, but we have a long way to go, no? It's a long journey. So you have to make sure that you exercise your body and keep yourself active. If you are not active, if you simply sit closed in a room or somewhere, then naturally the mind-made objects, they take over. It doesn't happen within a day or a week. But naturally, little by little, it takes over. And maybe after a few months, few years, you are lost in some dark place. Right? And some imaginary place, imaginary stories they are starting to tell. They anger comes, hating certain people, blaming them. Because they don't have anything else to do. The whole attention goes to a small incident that has happened. And they keep thinking about it. Right? But when you are active, when you have many things to do, although the troubles are there, no time to focus, no. Right? That's what I experience. So many troubles are there. Right? But no time to focus. It's like ignoring those objects. One of the tools as well. Yes, ignoring them. Negative sides are there, complaints are there, but can't pay attention. We are busy. Right? We are involved in retreats. Right? When you join a retreat, you have to continue with it, no? Then we go do some work. We go preach Dhamma. We discuss. Have a Q&A. Right? That way you keep yourself engaged, you keep yourself active, and without you even knowing, that negative part will disappear. Right? They are there, but nobody is paying attention to them. In the mind also the negative part is there, but we don't have time to pay attention to it. Right? Naturally the power of those things reduce. Our minds are negatively biased. So if we keep giving attention to those sides, they will grow and grow. Right? Negatives are there, difficulties are there, health problems are there, family matters are there. But among all those things, we try to refrain our peace. We know that they are there, but we don't pay much attention to them. We simply focus, prioritize the practice and continue. And when you continue like that for few weeks, few years, few months, you realize those negative sides will disappear little by little. So exercising would be very nice. Make sure that your body hurts with workouts. Then mind doesn't hurt. Yes. Okay, we are near reaching the end of the discussion. No questions from him? Without your questions, it won't be complete.
Avasara Bhante, now the last question was mine. Just to clarify regarding the same thing. now, as you said, when we keep on practicing mindfulness, yes, there are certain improvements like virya and things like that. Now, many people talk about Vipassana, Samatha Vipassana, and converting from Samatha to Vipassana and things like that. Now, once the mindfulness is, yes, we have not reached a certain level that I understand, but for us to reach that particular level, we have to do a lot of things. That also I understand. Now, what are the other steps that will have to be taken in order for us to, go for a certain, as I asked, the destination like, what is it?
Yes, now, usually many people, they make it so complicated. Right? They say that this is a complicated path, you have to do these things, you have to cover these steps, you have to cover them. But actually the path is very simple. The little knowledge you have, even easier the path becomes. Right? So let's say, for example, what you took, Samatha Vipassana. Right? Aren't we doing both? Right?
That is what exactly I want to know.
Sorry?
That is what exactly I want to know, whether it covers with this.
It happens, but we are not labeling it, no. Certain sitting sessions, sometimes your practice is more inclined towards concentration. The advices are given according to that. Certain sessions, when the practice is more inclined towards Vipassana, wisdom, the advices are given according to that. Right? So the mindfulness practice, although we lead with mindfulness, it involves both these Samatha Vipassana aspects, and even in a certain sitting you can see the Samatha faculties are developing. Certain sittings you can see Vipassana faculties are developing. So you can't separate it. Now even Venerable Ajahn Chah, he didn't separate it. Right? It's his original teaching, he didn't separate it. But the disciples, Brahmavansa Thero took the Samatha side, then Sumedho Thero took the Vipassana side. Right? They separated it. But if you talk about original teachings, Venerable Ajahn Chah, he didn't separate. He says these two sides of the same coin. You can't separate it. Right? So when you practice, when you continue with this, Samatha side is also developing. Vipassana side is also developing. The problem is that we don't label it, no. That's the issue. The book knowledge is the problem here. Practice is okay. Practice works. This is the whole path. Right? You don't have to do anything else. Simply doing this. But we are not assured. We feel like something is lacking. Right? So till that lacking part disappears, you will have to meditate. That part will have to disappear. Right? They don't have the confidence. They say, what if something else was there? That type of approach. Even the practitioners that have done for many years, even being at Nissarana, they feel still they need some other part. Something is missing. They are not confident in the process. They feel like some other part is there. But if you are confident in your own practice, there is nothing more to look for. There is nothing more to search. I know this boy, he was in Nissarana for many years. Then he has gone to a branch of Pandidaram at not India, the country above India. Nepal, yes. There he spent, I think, 3 months or so. Then again he came to Nissarana. His journey is never ending. The fellow wants to become a monk. But last week he left saying he is feverish. Right? went back home. Right? So how can you complete this? Searching, going here and there, finding other places, then again coming back, again going home because he's sick, right? So it's going to be a never-ending process for him. Now for many years I have seen him. He wants to do it, but he is not still ready. He is still not confident enough. Right? If you know your practice, there is nothing more to look for. Right? Like if you start looking outside, then it's a never-ending process. In the process you will die. Without fulfilling yourself, without finding what you are looking for. Like Rohitasa. Right? He was searching, going to place and place, trying to find it. At the end of the day, he died on the way. Right? Same goes for many yogis, because they are not confident. They think that there is some lacking part. It will be with some other teacher. It will be with some other method. Right? They don't appreciate what's given to them. Even though you go on YouTube, you can find many channels with meditation advice. You know what I do? They have that option of don't show this channel again. There's that option, right? So I click that. So only one time you see it, next time they won't show it. Right? Many such channels are there. If you start exploring, it's a never-ending game. You can do it if you are confident with what you have, with the current practice. If you are not confident, then of course you start searching. And when you start searching, many people, they give various definitions. They say various methods, various ways, lot of things to think about. Maybe most of them, they haven't even practiced. They are just saying, teaching. Right? So it's a risky game. What we do is, we simply do not show the channel again, close it, and focus on what we know. Right? That's practical now. We have tried it for many years, we have practiced it. What else to look for? That's the whole idea, but difficult to be satisfied. Okay, then we will conclude the Q&A. Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure to conduct the retreat for last 5 times, and I'm sure we get to meet once again many occasions. Yes, so it's not a permanent ending.